The Sixth Grade Nickname Game by Gordon Corman, read with permission from Scholastic. Chapter 5. He's losing what's left of his mind. Jeff smacked a hard grounder to the shortstop. He raced down the line and dove into first base, just ahead of the tag. He stood up and dusted himself off. "How's it going, Snoopy?" he puffed. Charles, the first baseman, glared at him. "Cut the Snoopy business," he growled. "I won the bet fair and square. Mike Smith is the Iceman, and you owe me a new nickname." If you remember before, they had made a bet that any nickname could stick no matter what it was, as long as you said it often enough. "The bet isn't over yet," snapped Jeff. "A week from now, no one will remember that the guy got called Iceman a couple of times. I don't care about next week. I care about now. I win." Jeff took a lead off, then dove back to the bag when Stan, the pitcher, threw to first. "I've got a few ideas for you and Wiley to think about," said Charles. "Last night I overheard my parents talking about what a great athlete I am." "You mean you were snooping?" Jeff cut in. "I just happened to hear," Charles defended himself. "I was hiding in the stairwell." Jeff hooted with laughter. "To call you anything but Snoopy would be a crime against science. You're a born snoop." "I am not." But then Christie got a hit, and Jeff was off with the crack of the bat. Enraged, Charles forgot all about playing first base and chased after him. "Come back here, Greenbaum." Jeff broke off the base path and kept on going straight into left field. Charles followed, shouting threats. See if I can focus that page for you. For the reader here. Wiley, the next batter, stared after them. "I have no idea how you score that," he commented. "This never happens in the major leagues." "I think the runner's out," Dinky mused, "and the first baseman is gone," burped Raymond. Jeff and Charles disappeared behind the school portables. "Well, we need someone to play first," Wiley decided, looking around. There were no draftees nearby, only little kids, and a couple of fifth graders trading basketball cards. Except... "Hey, Iceman," Dinky called to Mike Smith. "Want to play?" The tall boy from 6A gawked. He had never been asked to join anything before. His first thought was that Dinky was talking to somebody else, but he had said Iceman, and that was definitely Mike. He took a step forward and hesitated. Maybe this was all a joke. When he walked onto the diamond, everyone would break out laughing. "Come on, Iceman," sighed Wiley, shaking his head. "We need a first baseman. Help us out." "Sure," Mike said cautiously, and when nobody snickered, he jogged onto the field and took Charles's place. Gordon pounded his catcher's mitt and went back into his crouch. "Batter up!" After the morning announcements, 6B boarded the bus for their field trip to Valley Forge. They were barely out of the school driveway when Mr. Hughes began to rile himself up. "Hit the turn signal," he cheered the driver. "Merge onto the interstate." The man glared at him. "I got a driver's license." "Sorry," the big teacher looked sheepish. "This is my first field trip," he admitted. "We really won the coin toss getting Valley Forge. 6A is stuck with the botanical gardens." The driver glanced at the sky. Thick dark clouds were rolling in. Not much of a day for an outdoor tour. The rain held off through the nature hike. Then, halfway through the picnic lunch, the heavens opened up. Not just a drizzle, but a drenching downpour that sent 6B running for the bus. "Picture this, men," lectured Mr. Hughes, directing traffic with his half-eaten sandwich. "George Washington's army wintering here at Valley Forge, and it isn't just raining, it's snowing, and they don't have great bologna sandwiches like these, and no nice dry bus to shelter in. And 2 years later, this wild card team defeated the most powerful army in the world and formed our country. See what can happen when you give 110%? A deafening crash of thunder shook the bus. By the time 6B had finished their lunches, the storm was just settling in. Forked lightning slashed the sky. Thunder rattled the windows of the bus, and the glass streamed with water. Everyone agreed that if General Washington's soldiers had to sit through this, they would have lost the revolution. At first it was fun to watch Mr. Hughes inhale all the extra sandwiches, washed down with gallons of Gatorade. Then boredom set in. Charles offered to arm wrestle all comers. Out of the whole class, only Cassandra managed to defeat him. Then the top 5 arm wrestlers teamed up against Mr. Hughes's left hand. Cheers rang out in the bus, most of them from the teacher himself. "Break my arm off, men," he encouraged his opponents. "And me," grunted Cassandra, who was leading the group against him. The laughing and joking turned to excitement as it became apparent that the 5 had a fighting chance against Mr. Hughes. Even the bus driver joined the howling spectators. In the end, Mr. Hughes' massive arm slowly overwhelmed the challengers. The ovation from winners, losers, and spectators was tumultuous. The bus seemed to rock until Raymond, in one rolling burp, announced that the rain had stopped. 6B stampeded off the bus and began splashing around in the sopping wet grass. Mr. Hughes blew 3 sharp blasts on his coach's whistle. "Sorry, man, it's just too wet out here. There's no way we can have any of the activities after so much rain." There was some grumbling, but eventually the big teacher managed to herd his class back inside for the hour-long ride home. Boy, 4 hours, that'd be a long trip. For a field trip. That'd be long. All right, they drove along the narrow lane that fed the main road of the park. Suddenly, Cassandra leaped up and bellowed right in the driver's ear, "Hit the brakes!" Shocked, the man slammed his foot on the pedal. The front wheels jolted to a halt, but the back end skidded on the wet pavement. It fishtailed out to the side, and the rear tires came to rest in the mud of the soft shoulder. Mr. Hughes was on his feet. "Cassandra, what's wrong?" Cassandra looked sheepish. I saw that groundhog in the road ahead. I thought it might be the rare Pennsylvania needlenose, which is an endangered species. But now I see that it's just a totally ordinary woodchuck." Shaken, the driver grimaced at her. "Okay, is the coast clear? I wouldn't want to run over any ants." "It won't happen again," Mr. Hughes assured him. "Let's go." The man put the bus in gear and pressed the gas. The back tires spun in the soft mud and sank deeper. He cut the motor and started over, this time in a lower gear. The engine roared, but the rear wheels did not climb onto the pavement. He tried a few more times with no success. The spinning wheels hummed a high-pitched scream, but the bus did not budge an inch. The driver turned to face Cassandra. "You can tell your woodchuck friend to breathe easy." To Mr. Hughes he said, "We're not going anywhere. It's like bacon grease back there. No traction at all." The big teacher looked worried. "What do we do?" "We wait until another car comes by," replied the driver, "and we send him to the main gate to call for a tow truck." "But what if no one comes by?" replied the driver. Let me start over. "But what if no one comes by?" piped up Charles. "Then we ask the woodchuck to recommend a good hotel." Mr. Hughes strode to the exit. "Open the door." "It's 3 miles to the park entrance," the driver protested. "Open the door." The teacher stepped down to the ground and marched purposely to the back of the bus. There he braced himself against the rear bumper. Oh my goodness, is he going to try and push a bus? My goodness sakes. The driver stared into his side mirror. What's he doing? Wiley gawked at his teacher through the glass window of the emergency exit. "If I didn't know better," he said in amazement, "I'd swear he was planning to push the bus." "Okay," bellowed Mr. Hughes, "give her the gun." The driver stepped on the accelerator, and Mr. Hughes put his considerable bulk into the back end, howling with the sheer effort. "He's nuts," gasped Charles. "He's losing what's left of his mind." "No, that's not it," said Jeff in odd respect. "He's giving 110%. "But nobody can push a bus," exclaimed Christy. All eyes were riveted on the heroic Mr. Hughes as he did battle with tons and tons of machine. And then there was a second figure out there in the mud of Valley Forge. "Cassandra!" chorused Wiley and Jeff in amazement. "I can't believe it," snorted Charles. "She's as crazy as he is." Straightening her spiderweb shirt, the red-headed girl hunkered down beside her teacher and threw her slim back into the struggle. Wiley and Jeff were out there like a shot, with Peter, Christy, and Raymond hot on their heels. Soon all the students, even Charles, were positioned around the bus, heaving with every ounce of energy they could muster. "All right, man, 4th and goal, hike!" Miraculously, their combined strength moved the bus just far enough so that the left wheel caught some traction at the edge of the pavement. The bus lurched forward and climbed up onto the road. As it did, the spinning wheel sprayed a shower of mud all over the students of 6B. The sliming mess did nothing to dampen the celebration. Mr. Doncaster hurried down the front steps of Old Orchard Public School to meet the bus. A rainy field trip was nothing new, but the day's thunderstorms had been so violent that he was relieved to see Mr. Hughes's class back safely. The door hissed open, and out filed the students of 6B, 25 swamp creatures who would not have been recognized by their own mothers. Their faces were brown with mud, their hair was matted, their clothes dripped, and their shoes squished with dark slime. Bringing up the rear was their teacher, a mountain of muck so filthy that only his clear blue eyes identified him as Mr. Hughes. The deer-in-headlights look burned like a laser beam. The principal's mouth fell open, but no sound came out. Finally he managed to croak, "What happened?" The bus driver supplied the answer. "We saved a woodchuck." Then he shut the door and roared off. That is the end of Chapter 5. We'll continue with the next video in Chapter 6. Know any good bird doctors? Thank you for joining in the reading of the 6th grade nickname game.